It's Matthew again from marketinginreallife.com, and this is part 3 of the Google Analytics Advanced Segments tutorial. That's a mouthful and a half. We've been talking about Google Analytics stuff, how to read it properly so that you can make better business decisions, and this is part 3 of the mini part within the series talking just about segments because it is such an important subject so that you can really learn more about what your visitors are doing and what is making them tick and making them want to purchase from you. So we just talked about when I looked at Google and thought it was such an awesome thing and give me so much revenue, and then I compared it to removing all the keywords that included my business name and realized it wasn't providing quite as much as I thought it was. But still doing pretty well. Can't complain. So let's remove those, and I want to show you some other filters that I've managed to create. Let's see which ones would be useful for you. This is probably going to be the last one that I'm going to do just to give you an idea of filters. So let's create a new one. We've got overseas store only, but I think that's an old one, so I'm going to edit that one. So continent matches exactly Europe, or continent matches exactly Asia, or continent matches exactly Africa, or continent matches exactly Oceania. You can actually hit the drop down, it'll load. Oh, if I delete it, and it tells me pretty much all of them. So let's take that back to Oceania. So we have Americas, Europe, Oceania. So basically anything that's not Americas. Really, I could go even further because I want to include South America stuff. As much as it's not overseas to us, or to me, I should say, it is outside of my normal market area. And then in this case, I said the landing page contains store.miniwargaming.com. So I wanted people who were landing on the store, not just visiting the store. So I'm going to change that because this is an old segment, and I've realized later on that we want page, not landing page content. Here we are, page. So we'll switch that out. Page contains store.miniwargaming.com, and then of course, like you've seen me do, I'm going to add that their purchase does not include how-to, because that is my ebooks and DVDs. Okay, so we'll store only, store purchases only. Save and apply to report. Here we go. Alright, so there's our overseas traffic. Something's obviously wrong because it's only... No, that's probably correct because we don't really get people buying from us, especially anymore. Actually, if you look at this comparing, because we just opened up the UK branch, I'm going to start from January and go all the way to yesterday, July 26th. And you'll see probably a significant drop-off, because remember, this is store only. We get lots of overseas visitors to our website because they like our videos and all of that. But when it comes to purchasing, our shipping rates are just too expensive. They can get it locally in their continent. So loading, this is going to take a little longer because we're looking at 6 months of data. So when you do larger amounts of time and you have advanced segments, it takes a little longer to load. So you can see here, store had a lot, store had a lot, store had a lot, boom, it dropped off. And that's when around there we opened up miniwargaming.co.uk, which is run by another company in Europe. So obviously we're going to have a drop off because we basically encourage when people go to store.miniwargaming.com, it checks to see where they're from, and if they're not from North America, it'll ask them if they want to go to the UK store instead. And obviously they'll never hit our store if that's what they decide to do. So rightly so, this drops off to next to nothing, which is good. That's what we want to see. We want to see that they're leaving and going elsewhere. But let's just look at it anyway, just for the past month. This should load a little faster because there's less data for it to compile. It's enormous, the amount of data that Google is compiling for you, because I've done my own stats programs. I've actually programmed them myself, and I've done very basic ones, and it's a monumental task, and it just takes up so much data. So it's great that we have access to a program like this. We wouldn't have had this a decade ago, or a decade or two ago. I don't know, I can't remember exactly when Google Analytics came out. Anyways, I'm digressing again. So let's take a look at e-commerce. We're looking at overseas only, that have made it to the store and made a purchase. And here's the thing, 0.26% conversion rate. They're almost converting. Let's take a look at American US store purchases. Oh wait, no, this is store purchases. So you know what, let's create another segment. Let's compare this to Americans. So visitors, country, matches exactly, United States. and content page contains store.miniwargaming.com and almost have this memorized by now. Product SKU does not contain how-to. So US store only, store purchases. Create. I'm not going to apply this one because I want to add it as well as the overseas. And then we'll even compare it to Canadian, and you're going to see the drastic difference. Alright, loading, thinking, processing. Okay. So right now we have overseas. Let's add US store only, store purchases, and CA store visits, store purchases only, and apply. And of course, when you do that many segments, it also has to include the all visits, just so you have that comparison. I'm not sure what they have to do that for, but hey, it's free. Can't complain. So it's loading. Okay. So here we are. Okay, so US is way better. That's good. So all visits, we have 0.35% conversion rate, obviously being dragged down by overseas. Because overseas is 0.25%, is what I expect. US is 1.55%, because like I said in a previous video, our prices on a lot of our items are higher than what you find in the States, so they're going to find a competitor to buy from. And then CA, store visit, store purchases only, is 2.69%. So you can start to see here how valuable this information is. Like, we could delve even deeper and forget overseas. We can look at it country by country and find out if there's certain countries that are purchasing more from us. They have a higher percentage. Because then if you find out, let's say there's you're working in the States and you have this e-commerce store and you think your shipping is prohibitive overseas, but then you're looking at your Google Analytics, and because you're only focusing on the States, maybe Canada, and you start to look closer and you see that in Germany, for example, you have this there's a certain amount of visitors that are coming, and you're getting a higher than normal conversion rate. It's not a really good one, but higher than normal. And so you look at it closer, and you realize that, well, I haven't really created a good shipping page. Like, you should have a page which talks about all your shipping costs. And it really only covers American and Canadian a bit. And I really haven't even put in research to find out how much it costs me to ship to Germany. So I just have this kind of blanket, really high shipping rate just to cover my butt in case it turns out to be really expensive. And so then what you could see is an opportunity. If we're getting all these German visitors, maybe there's a market in there that's interested in my products. So you look at it closer and you say, okay, well, let's really research German shipping rates. So you find that out, and then you update your shipping page, or you create one if you don't have one. You should have one, and you include Germany specifically. And then you do that, and then you sit back for a month and you see if your conversion rates in Germany increase. And heck, you could even segment, if you have like a Aweber with your email lists or whatever you use. If you're able to segment by country, you could even email your German customers or the German people who are on your newsletters and say, hey, we've just updated our rates. It's cheaper now to ship to Germany, so check it out. And you give them a link to the shipping page so they can see the rates, and you give them a link to your store so they can make purchases, and you find those kind of opportunities. And so you have to become kind of a numbers nut as you're looking through these segments and finding out exactly what is working, what isn't, who's purchasing, how much are they purchasing, and what you can do about that. Because if you look at this again, we're just about out of time, and I think we're just about done this. But US, sure, they do 1.55%, but their purchases are way lower than overseas. Overseas only makes big purchases. So they might be purchasing less, but they purchase larger amounts. Because obviously if they're going to pay all the shipping, they might as well get a larger order. And so if you really do the math, you should multiply this by 3 to get this 30 up to around 90. And you find out it's more like a 0.75%. So there is that opportunity. In my case, we have our other branch, which does much better with overseas because they are overseas. But you really need to start delving into your Google Analytics, start doing all these segmentations. This is probably the last video for the Google Analytics series. However, if you do ask questions, put them in the comments, put in the blog or on these videos. I will read them. I'll probably respond to them personally. And I will even make videos if there are common questions that people are having problems with. This is Matthew from marketingreallife.com. Don't forget to visit and subscribe.